Welcome to another episode of the Wandering Watercolor. Today we are working on the 8th page of the Cute Dogs Watercolor coloring book. It's a book that I make myself through the use of lithographs, and if you're here because you purchased it, thank you. I really appreciate that. If you're interested in purchasing it, it'll be in the description. Otherwise, feel free to just pause the video when we get to the image, sketch it out, and then continue painting with us once you're ready. So let's move over to the drawing table. So this is the image for today's painting session. It's basically just a cute little French bulldog. And basically, as always, I have my soap dish. You can use any dish just to mix your colors on top of it, and they wash out very easily. I have my brush. This is just a very cheap 16-cent brush from Walmart. Any brush works. Don't worry about the brush. And a scrap piece of paper, that's always useful. And also a rag, just so that I can... well, it's very useful as well. I'll just go over that as we go along. And just my paint. Any paint works. It does not have to be the exact same paint that I sell. I make these myself. I mix my own paint. If you're interested, it'll be in the description. But any paint works, and I'll walk you through how to mix the colors. So let's get started. So first, we will grab some of this yellow ochre. If you don't have this in whatever paint you're using, basically just grab some brown, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of brown, a little bit of yellow, mix it up, and then maybe add a little bit of white. And that should help you get close to this color. And there's not a lot of there's not too many colors. Like this one isn't like the last one that we painted, where there's a lot of markings and a lot of variation in the fur coloring. But there is a little bit. We'll add a background and the ground and this log that the dog is stepping on. We'll add some variation of colors. The light, imagine as if it's coming from the top, just like the last one. So basically, most of the shadow will be on the underneath of the chin, the underbelly, maybe underneath of the log. And the light it's almost like it's coming from the top back, so the shadow will be cast a little bit forward. But anyway. So, and you can actually get a little more. We don't need to really dilute this too much. What we're going to do is, we're just going to lay it in. The fur over here underneath is white, so we'll leave that white for now. But basically just go ahead and lay in the color and then lay it all in. And then what we're going to do is, okay, we got all that in here in the body, and then just basically rinse off our brush. Just rinse it off. Don't dry it, just rinse it off, and then grab some of that color and then just kind of bring it up. So what that automatically does is it helps give the appearance of a lighter coat on the top, more towards where the sunlight would be hitting it. So it's kind of like a gradient. Okay. Maybe a little bit here. The face is largely, I mean, the muzzle of the dog is largely white, so I'm just gonna kind of clear up a little bit, and just like that, maybe blend those a little bit. Okay, there we go. That's fine. And then, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna get some straight pigment. I'm not even really gonna dilute it. I'm just gonna go more back here and underneath here a little bit. Just kind of make marks. Some marks to add really some shadow, basically. Like that. Maybe a little bit here in the folds of the face. You know how they have that scrunched up face and there's a lot of different folds in it? Just a little bit like that. A little bit. Okay, and then rinse off the brush and then dry it off a little bit and then just kind of do the same. Just kind of like that. It's okay if you leave some marks to give it a little bit of texture, make it look more interesting. We will go in afterwards and add even more shadows. But for now, this is just kind of like to get some of the texture in, some of the wrinkles in the face. Okay. That looks good. Okay, so we're gonna grab the brown. Next, we're gonna mix the color for the log. And grab the brown. And actually gonna get a little bit of green. This is more of a teal green. If you don't have like a greenish like blue in your palette, basically just grab whatever brown you have and add a little bit of green and blue. Just a little bit though, not a lot. Okay, so this looks good, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna go the bottom, gonna go a little more heavy-handed on the bottom, and then on the top we're gonna rinse off our brush and then just kind of go like that. And right here. Okay. And rinse that off. And grab a little more brown, a little more green and blue, and mix it in. A little more brown. A little more brown. Come on. There we go. And then just go in on the bottom again. Just mainly on the bottom, and then maybe do a couple of just kind of like long strokes. And if you vary the size of the stroke that you're making, it'll help give that texture of wood. What I mean to say is, if you do a thin line, like I'm barely pressing, barely pressing, add more pressure, and then you see how it adds variation in the stroke. And if you do a couple of these, like varying how they look, you can give the appearance of wood grain. Okay, and then right here. Now the thing is, if the shadow is being cast from the back more towards the front, but top down towards the front, then we would need to go ahead and add a little bit of shadow going forward, just like this. There we go. Kind of like that. Yep. Looks good. And we're still going to kind of add more shadow on the bottom, just because that's where it would be darker on the log. So just kind of like that, and okay, that looks good. Rinse off our brush. Now we can get back to the shading on the dog. Basically just grab some more of the yellow ochre. This time we're going to grab a little bit of the dark blue, a little bit. There we go. This color looks a little too dull, so I'm also going to grab a little bit of the brown. So, because we want it to be darker, but we don't want it to look too dull. Okay. So, in the back leg, I'm going to get that in here. A little bit underneath there, like that. And a little bit underneath the chin there, like that. On the inside. Notice I'm leaving this white part white because it's a different base color. So a little bit right there, like that. A little bit underneath the toes here. There we go. Maybe give just like a little bit of a fold, kind of like that. And then a little bit on the mouth, right there. Right there. And where the eyebrows are, just to give a little more character. You know, because the eyes themselves, they're kind of like sunken in, because into the eye sockets. So it gives it a little more depth. And then that right down here. Okay, I'm gonna rinse off my brush, dry it off. Now I'm gonna soften up this shadow just a little bit, and same with this one back here. Okay, let's stop and take a look at it. Okay, looks good so far. Now, I'm going to grab a little bit of this green, which is more like a grassy yellow green, and then basically just go in for where the grass would be. And just kind of go like that. Kind of heavily underneath the log, and then kind of press against the paper going outwards to leave a little bit of texture. And maybe rinse off the brush a little bit, and then kind of spread it out while pressing against the paper to give that nice texture while it's fading out. Okay, rinse off our brush again, and then grab a little bit of the light blue. I think this is cobalt blue, I think that's what you call it. Grab some of the lighter blue, and what we're gonna do with that is do the background around the dog. I'm just gonna go like that. Just kind of slowly kind of go around and kind of bring it out like that a little bit. And then same going the other way. And just repeat the process all the way around. And you don't have to necessarily have the color touch the all sides of the pet. It's okay if you, like right here for example, there's a big white gap. That's fine. And just like that. And underneath here. And back here. And rinse off our brush. Looking pretty good so far. I'm going to grab a little bit of the red, just a little bit, and then a little bit of the yellow ochre. And I'm going to use these two to color the inside of the ear. Like that. Like that. Remember, it does not have to be perfect. And then the nose. The nose is actually brown on this dog. I just wanted to see what it would look like with a pink nose. And then we'll go ahead and we'll get a little bit of, just a little bit of black, and kind of dilute it with water or whatever water's left on your brush. And then basically just underneath here, Just gonna go like this, and then like this, to show that it's the shadow. And then kind of leave a little bit. It's gonna be hard. This would all be in shadow. Yeah, because just looking at it, how it's coming down, it'll be all shadow. Just dry off my brush. Okay. So far so good. Next we are gonna grab a little more of this brown, and actually a lot more. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna lay in some more contrast. So right on the bottom, go like that, and a little bit like that. And remember to add some variety to the strokes, like vary the pressure that you're laying on the brush to give the texture and to also give variety to the strokes themselves. There we go. I'm gonna rinse that off. We're pretty close to being done here. Now for the eye color, we're going to mix this green. We're gonna mix the green with the brown, because the dog has these kind of like heart. What color would that be? Like kind of like a dark brown green. So go ahead and we'll get that in. Just slowly take your time. If you go outside of the lines a little bit, that's okay, kind of like I just did. Okay, rinse off your brush. And then maybe add a little more brown. I'm gonna go back into the fur, or the coat of the pet. Add a little bit right there, like that. There's some marks, just to show where it's darker. You know, like that. Okay. A little bit there, a little there. Okay. Almost done. I'm gonna grab a little more red, a little more of the yellow ochre, a little more red. I'm gonna add a shadow, basically like that, and a little bit on the nose. Here we go. We'll rinse off our brush. I'm gonna add a little more green here, just a little more right there on the bottom underneath the log, and just kind of like do quick strokes going outwards. There we go. And the last part is gonna be just grabbing some of the black, but first I'm just gonna double check, make sure that, because I'm gonna be going in the face to add detail, I want to make sure that it's dry, so I'm just gonna dab a little bit. Okay. Okay, that's good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get just straight black. Just not diluting it or anything, not using any water, just getting just straight from the tin, straight from the little pan. And you want to go slowly on this. We're gonna go add black for the pupils. Okay, that was good. Now we can also add just some outlines throughout anywhere you feel like it might benefit. So maybe a little bit here for the mouth, a little bit on the outside of the body, just to show like that. Maybe just a little bit on the fur. A little bit right there. A little bit on the nostrils. A little bit right there. On the front forearm. Kind of outline where the pads are. And a little bit in the ears. Like that. And then I'm just kind of going through and picking out where I want to add emphasis. Notice you don't have to go everywhere. You don't have to add an outline everywhere. But just wherever it makes sense to you. Let's see, it's maybe down here under the log. And maybe on the bark, add some texture. You're gonna step back. And rinse off your brush and dry it, and you are done. Okay, so that was what, about 22 minutes? Hopefully that all made sense. As always, feel free to tag me. I love seeing what people make on Instagram, or if you just want to drop a link in the comments. The username is always Wondering Watercolor, or at Wondering Watercolor. I love seeing what people make, and if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, or if you have comments, you can just drop them in the comments. It's all good, and I appreciate you. I will see you next time.